Alright, I think it's time to see if we can get to Heaven's Vault. See if we can go to this flooding moon. Elbereth has dried up, and I cannot take dealing with Iox anymore. I just spent the last hour essentially trying to grind my dictionary and didn't make as much progress as you would hope to make in an hour. The ancient aquifer. This place could make a river. All the way to Heaven's Vault, perhaps?
We returned to the forest where the goddess waited.
I could be wrong, and you know better than me by the now, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, I probably made it a secret video in the playlist, like, part this number, .1, because there was like one good conversation, but most of it was largely unwatchable, I think. It was just me trying to get more words, and there's mechanisms for making progress, but they're just so frustratingly time-consuming and throttled in kind of unnecessary ways. And the ancients who built this place set the water goddess here to look after the place. Who knows? Perhaps Mercy once had the same setup. I can shove this right down. Let's see what happens this time. The surface is flooding more quickly. Most likely the level did not entirely fall last time. This place was built to create rivers. From a wellspring below, up into the Nebula. Rivers to Iox elsewhere, but the river's been drying up. And the hopper's filling up with dirt. This place hasn't been maintained. I can remove the sail. Am I missing something about how to proceed? There we go, yes, clear the hopper. It's definitely warm down here. I think... There. Is anything happening? Perhaps, Aliya. A very faint flow upwards. Something, maybe, in the sky. But you can't be sure? It is almost undetectable. It needs more water. This hopper's aimed to nowhere? This hopper source would appear to be pointing in a direction similar to that of Renba's telescopes. This hopper is pointing to something outside the nebula. Perhaps to Heaven's Vault itself. You didn't notice that earlier. I was not sure before. Returning to the Nightingale allowed me to calibrate the direction more accurately. Okay, so I guess I cleared it, even though it's not visibly cleared. So now if I block this one, it'll probably transmit more water in that one better while not flooding here. Now it has an alternate output to focus on. Aurora does this when she's fixing plumbing. Here goes. The water is rising. Is it? Well? Is anything happening? I am observing, Aliya. The water is rising more slowly than before. Something is indeed different. Something else is happening. Can't tell what yet. We made a new river, didn't we? Aliya. The water appears to have stopped rising. Something new is happening. As though the pressure below ground has dropped. And Aliya Elasra, something is forming in the sky above us. A new river? Tell me we've just made a river. Where does it go? There's only one way to find out. So there's a new river above us. It would appear so. May I activate the hopper now, Aliya? Do it. Stand by, Jester. There's something dark about how 6 potentially died, in that somebody who had not spent the whole journey with him was like, oh, I think I can get this thing to do something. I know what it'll do. This is how we make progress. And then, poof. Like, in the moment I had to make a call about whether or not to do it, and it might have had ramifications I didn't fully understand. Or maybe you had to do this, who knows. The water from below us is disentangling around us, Aliya. It's beginning to flow. Flowing some kind of path. It is quite beautiful. You can see it? The path? Does it look like what we saw in the mosaic? There are lines of force through space, arcs, grooves in the surface of things. I can see them. The rivers trace their outlines as they flow. We have made a new river, Aliya. Or recreated a very old one. Perhaps it will flow all the way to Heaven's vault. So much for your ethical core. You are safe, Aliya Elasra, and Iox has options. I am not required to provide anyone comfort. But after we sail this new river, there is no reason to assume there will be a way back. We'd better find out. I do not think we have a choice. We are already moving. That is alarming. We just made a one-way river somewhere. Everywhere we've gone, there's been a giant network of them going everywhere. There's always other ways to get around and go other places. Technically, some of these destinations I've gone to really look like they have a river that just dead ends at them and it doesn't go anywhere back. Like, probably more of the destinations in this game probably should be like Renaki here, where it's in the middle of multiple paths. Like, these places make sense. But there have been a number of dead ends, which, if you can't fly without a river, should technically strand you, but especially this one that just dead ends going nowhere. It's kind of alarming, isn't it? Let's see, is this a whole network of alternate paths that connect these chunks of map? I don't think it was entirely immediately apparent, but I do think that this game has Fog of War. Where as you travel, the surrounding area gets filled in on the map, and that's why there's these little darker spots. I kind of felt that, like, as if, like, as I was exploring, it was just kind of filling in a chunk at a time, but here it's really apparent that all these capillaries just end. But they don't end. They must go all the way over to here. It's like you could go from the Burning Tower to Renaki without going all the way around, for example, and you could fill more of the map in that way, which makes you wonder if there's anything in there. To some extent, it raises some questions about where she had been and what she knew, because she supposedly could historically trace so many relics to locations but that weren't on her map, which made me question how she knew anything about those locations, having never been there and being the only historian, supposedly. which undersells the idea that this area is off the known map, because everything we've been to so far was always like us going off the map a bit, but it was places she knew about somehow. But the Heaven's Vault was not visibly different from the other ones when they were just all vague clouds in the distance. It wasn't really selling you on the idea that they were completely different locations you couldn't find otherwise. Ready to go. I'm in danger. There's no way back, is there? Is there? It seems unlikely. Let's make another river when you get there. Following a river that's not in the network. Everyone said I was gonna just disappear one day. Not come back.
No one knows how far the rivers go. No one's ever mapped them. Not even the robots. Or if they did, they aren't telling.
By the moons. Yeah, I think all those forks re-met. I think they merged again. I was a little alarmed about how I was gonna reconcile that or know where I was going. I don't think you necessarily need to cut the rivers out of the game, because they're obviously a significant part of the narrative by now. I just wish some of it was handled differently. Kind of like how there's just rough edges to the language system in general and so on. I found this necklace outside of the Hermitage. But I don't know what these things are that it's made of. Shells, wretch. Those are shells. I guess that was an... I'm guessing that was an RNG discussion and not relevant to the plot right now, because that was a weird aside. Yelling at her about the concept of shells, even though she's talked about shells before, so it's all happening out of order potentially. I thought we were gonna have some kind of like climactic conversation, and then they're just like arguing about shells out of nowhere. There's a moon out here in the dark.
We had followed a strange and winding road through the loneliest reaches of space. And on the moon at the end of the path was nothing.
It's a desert. I was hoping for... I don't know what. Hope is for imbeciles. Still, I must commend you, Aliya. You succeeded where that miserable rat Renba failed. Now we climb.
But now, I didn't know if I could return.
Seems strange to think I might not see Miyari again. You really think she killed Renba? I wondered if maybe she did. Because of what he discovered? The last Emperor's body and return to the rivers? It is possible. Boats do not usually explode. Renba didn't seem to mind having been blown up. The recording you spoke to was made before he died, Aliya. Should Renba return via the loop, I do not think he would be so considerate. Okay, so there's the continuity break. I think this is the place from the intro, but 6 just looks different, and we're just not gonna reconcile that, I guess. I was wondering about that. It kind of made me think that I couldn't harm 6 because they were literally shown in the beginning of the game. Grave markers. Just like the one we saw in the graveyard of the Emperors, outside the Hermitage, the moon near Mercy. Lots of them. Either people lived here, somehow, or else they came here to die. So where did all the people go? Out there? Into the Nebula? I was thinking about Huang. He never did introduce me to the Annals of Mazwai. He always said he would. I imagine he's still waiting for the right moment. I wonder how long it will be before he realizes you have gone. Huang is really going to miss me, I think. We've been friends since I arrived. He would have been your slave had you asked it of him. It is better this way. I think you're wrong. I think I might have broken his heart. Men like that do not have hearts, they are mice. They run on fear and shame. God damn. That's an unkind thing to say. And why would that matter out here? This character's a lot. It's fine. Whoa! Misuho Fakatore. Oh, that went fast. Ooh, there are surviving hologram things on these guys. Okay. That's interesting. Right, they are the same-ish shape as the graves we had on the other planet too. Huh. Okay. I'm wondering if this was always a one-way path. Like Heaven's Vault. If you came here, you doomed yourself, essentially. Like, was there never a return trip path? Is this the grave of everyone who's ever tried to come here? The pilgrims? We've been discussing pilgrims all game. It's been one of the earliest translations. So it set the tone for the game being a pilgrimage of sorts. Can you understand what it's saying? Of course not. I cannot speak ancient. Isami ayagi hang hukyo. I was thinking about Timor. I wonder what happened to him. Yari claimed it was nothing to do with her. Did you believe her? It's certainly true she cares more about the stability of Iox than she does about Albereth. I don't believe Miara is evil, Aliya Elasra, but if you ask me, Timor's rotting in an Ioxian prison. Does Iox even have prisons? Of course it does. It is troubling that she didn't know what Timor was up to when she lived there, and it's troubling she doesn't know that Iox has prisons. She just doesn't really know much about her surroundings in a lot of these situations for being an archaeologist. Whoops. Always in the past, I guess, never in the present. It does feel like between 6 and Timor and so on, there is a bit of like there's a little bit of an element of feeling trapped by choices in this game. You do certain things, then certain outcomes happen. I imagine that Timor doesn't always go missing. And I do feel a bit bad about that, because there's people depending on him and so on. It doesn't seem to be completely unethical what's going on. Like, it seems like there are people that will be worse off with him gone. And they're children, which is a bit of an issue. Maybe I should have taken that kid to the other planet. But just like with the kid and in many other choices, you're doing stuff with low information, and you're doing it on the fly during timed conversations, and notably, you have this android with you that just is a trap. Like, it means it means that information gets out that you don't get to choose whether it gets out. So the very act of telling us something is itself a danger. So people shouldn't trust us or be around us. Like, it's such a hazard. We just have to hope that whatever I do here makes up for the mistakes I've made. The Death Goddess. Something carved here. It's ancient. That's a big one. Phrase run together. Okay, well, welcome to hard mode. This is a... Oop. Oh, slightly different punctuation. Yeah, welcome to the final boss. A series of checks where we can only glean the meaning if we've been a good boy so far. It's like the word may, but it's not. That does fit here. May go on. That definitely sounds right. Huh. I'm missing something here. Books doesn't fit, I don't think. I give up. Gonna have to come back to this later. Loves books may go on. Just gave up on your first try? Can I at least try to lock in may go on? That definitely fits, right? Although I'm not entirely sure if the person icon goes after the crook or before the question mark. Like which piece of punctuation it's a part of. So we're canceling out then. You didn't normally act like that. Unusual to have her just give up right up front, but maybe she's just stressed out at this point. Canceling out loves now. Makes sense because it just doesn't really fit. There's something wrong there. Just the question of whether or not we can parse it. Yep. This is probably why she gave up, is because the first half of the message is completely incomprehensible. We only have phrases from the end. Like, the whole ending part may go on. Very cleanly slides together. The remainder does not. That doesn't fit there or over there. Heart is already in. Go. Can't go anywhere else. I think it dead ends me. I think these are correct. Maybe not heart, but maybe heart. The heart may go. The heart could definitely still be there. It fits with an epitaph of sorts or a message about the Death Goddess. But the unless I'm missing something, I'm pretty sure none of these fit. So I'm not getting to a fail state reset. So I guess she gave up because I sincerely can't translate this one. I failed. I don't know how to play the game better necessarily. Putting in way more time, I guess. I thought a vault would be underground. The word vault has two meanings. It is a sunken chamber or else a high arch, even a leap. Being talked at a lot here. I wonder what you're trying to tell me. This is... Let's see. I was about to say it's bad that people were buried here because of what they believe about how the bodies work. But I guess not necessarily. Because it doesn't mean they weren't necessarily buried here. They just have records of themselves. Interesting that these are the ones that still work. I don't understand you. I'm sorry. talking to each other. Who are you, I wonder? What did you want to say? I guess nothing really happened. I was wondering if there's something I should have checked. The way that the way that two of them looked like they were talking to each other and then looking at me, that was unnerving. There's definitely something weird about this place. Something about the air, maybe. I can smell nothing. Of course you can't smell anything. You're a box of motorized bolts. More gods higher up, leading the way. If there's anything here, it's up there. But Aliya, I'm not sure you will survive this climb. Your lungs, they've been getting worse. You have sheer lung, don't you? You always have had it. You and every other Elberethian rodent. Can you carry me up there? No. Can you hopper me up there? No, Aliya. The hopper requires a powered base station. Then I can walk. I didn't come this far to turn back now. Also, can't turn back. Looks like something crashed here. Something big. That might be where all those bodies were from. There's a number of dead ships here, out in the horizon. So any human remains might be from that. It is true. We cannot turn back. There is no river back. But you must you also die before the end of your search? I feel fine. People don't just drop dead. And yet everybody dies, Elberethian dog. Every body. She's suggesting that I record myself into a robot in order to finish the journey. The wreck there is further away than it appears. Please do not lose yourself in the open desert. I'm looking around. Okay, they did not want me to go that way, so we're going here now. In moments like this, I can't control my character, by the way. If you see the camera turn away from the direction that she's walking, but then she keeps walking straight, it's because I don't have control of the character. Perhaps this is an old road. I found a god buried in the bottom of the pit. I don't know how to respond to that statement. Perhaps I should say, oh no, you didn't. I did. It spoke to me in ancient glyphs. It saved me. It hoppered me to Elbereth. It's interesting how insistent she is on calling it a god. Like it's clearly some kind of AI construct, like 6. I know that shape. Ibenya. I always said she was truly ancient. Ibenya. The people back on Mercy would not believe it. Perhaps this is her home. Then she's not a very good water goddess. Look at this place. There's an inscription. Although we already know Cabenya. This one is a fractured fragment from an even longer phrase. We're gonna get additional context from her. Temples drink with us. Does that make any sense? Done something wrong. Nope. goddess drink with us? You can separate goddess and temples from each other even though they feature the same characters? Oh, we're just cutting off the we're cutting off the mountain entirely. That's interesting. I was saying before that it's always a coherent thing where even though she keeps saying it's a fragment, you don't seem to actually be able to ignore the beginning or end parts, but this time we actually got rid of the mountain. Goddess, drink with us. I've got a good feeling about that. That's interesting. I don't have any more solvable ones. I feel like that's never happened before, her cutting off an entire symbol. Or maybe I just missed it. But considering Renba's decision to hide the funeral robe servant, it implies that he knew what it was. He knew it was significant. The robe led us to the ruined moon. Perhaps he wanted to keep that secret. Perhaps. But otherwise, it occurs to me he might have known that the site would be discovered, and he wished to conceal what he found and had removed from there. And who was found there? He found the last Emperor of Iox there. So the question is whether or not Renba's the one who buried the body? There's something here, a wooden hatch. Nothing like as fancy as the one in the forest. Filled with sand. But still, I think it might have once been a well. Guarded by Cabenya. Only why would there be a well here? How? Surely there was never any water here. Perhaps there was. There was a river to this place after all. There may be water here again soon enough. But look at this place, NK. It couldn't be more desolate. Time destroys everything. Well, almost everything. I don't think I put that together. That Renba is the one who buried the Emperor. I guess it's because they introduced the idea of there being some other stranger there. It felt like they were suggesting that there was a person there and then another stranger. Like the Emperor was there and somebody else was also there, and maybe the Emperor killed and buried the stranger or something. But maybe I completely hallucinated that entire concept. Because yeah, it makes a lot of sense that if the Emperor was found there, the original idea makes a lot of sense that maybe there was two beds. There was a deathbed upstairs and a deathbed downstairs, seemingly. Maybe it happened. If Renba hated the Emperor, he might have found the Emperor's body and buried him with a message praying that he never returns. This way.
And then we began to climb. I fell silent, saving my breath. The robot purred along behind me. The wind offered little secrets and then snatched them away.
There's definitely something to question.
Something was wrong.
I wonder what this narration is. Like, is this narration diegetic? Is she saying all this at the end, recording her message, or talking back on it, or she's an AI now? NK? What? NK, I feel fine. The climb, it's easy. Perhaps I've grown stronger. Perhaps something about this place has made me well. The opposite is true, Aliya. It seems there is something wrong with gravity here. Is there iolite here? No. Whatever field the iolite was storing, that field wraps around this place like a cocoon. I thought I was struggling with, in the prologue of this version. This one's close enough. What are these things? I've never seen anything like them. What are they for? Was it a tower? The structure is like the metal crater we found, but the materials are quite different. So they said you have sheer lung like every Elberethian dog. That's interesting. It adds the Ioxian cruelness that they hire Elberethian slaves that have a widespread disorder caused by their environment, which they helped create, and then work them to death, essentially. Like, the things are so unequal between Iox and Elbereth that everybody on that planet has permanent developmental problems because of the poisoning of their environment. Like, that's nightmarish. It's ancient. As old as anything. The walls, Aliya Elasra, they are inscribed in some detail. No symbols. Fragments of images in the rust. And can you make anything from these etchings? I will take a look, Elberethian. Can you read it? Now wait. Etched with some kind of blunt blade. Carved in later, I think, than the metal was made. But worn down by the sand. Hurry up. I didn't know she was gonna say that, I'm sorry. Not that you deserve niceties. Get translated, loser. Well. Tell me something. If Huang could see this, I'd just tell them. I just didn't tell me history is a fantasy now. But they'll never see it, of course. No one will. Do I have to leave to trigger something to happen? He seems to be genuinely struggling here. Aliya Elasra, I believe I have some sense of it. Tell me a story, NK. The etching tells of the tale of a group of gods who strode forward across a wide desert from a place of much water, bringing water. They caused the fields here to be fertile for a time. Does it say which god? These are merely pictures, Elberethian. A village rose up around the god to worship the god. The god demanded tribute. I cannot tell how often. A tribute of people. And then the god was killed. Killed? Sure about that? No. That is the inference. But it is only a pictogram. The god is above us, Aliya. I think this mountain holds the god's tomb. Then let's go bother a god. I wonder how much of what I think I know I actually know, and how much of what I think I know is a series of heavily stacked up interpretations that can be contradicted by a different playthrough or something. I've heard people talk about doing multiple playthroughs of this game. I don't think as a Let's Player, I'm somewhat restricted in that. You can't really fully experience a game like this, or Fear and Hunger, or Monster Hunter without making your entire personality, as far as like the idea of replaying a game goes over and over again. It's like, if a game does benefit from replay value or grinding or massive changes in build and repetition and so on, then just sheer logistics wise, it's like, well, do you want to play that game for a year? That's what you're considering at the expense of everything else you could play. So I don't think I'm going to be doing another playthrough of this game, because that would be a huge investment. But I do wonder what changes. And that's that can be very variable. There are some games that benefit super well from being played again, and you see a wild number of surprises there. There are also games where you replay them and the entire facade is more or less burst, and you're like, oh, okay. There's actually way less variable than I thought there would be, or I can see exactly where the seams are, where they create a split and then join them back together and so on. Like in games like certain parts of like Telltale's The Walking Dead or Supermassive's games, you can see like the parts where they really force certain outcomes and avoid certain other ones, and certain choices that feel impactful that actually don't change anything in the moment and so on. But the opportunity here is that this game is so based around history, and so if you did nail the idea of it, you could create a story where you're so dependent on so many dozens and hundreds of interpretations from scratch that you might be able to, from the chaos, rip some sense of meaning out of it all and try to make sense of it all. But there might have been a completely different interpretation all along that you were missing, that you were blind to from working alone. And it could be that you misinterpreted the entire story, and you might never know that, which would be really interesting. But I don't know how you'd implement that. In particular, this game tells you eventually whether or not words you've used before are right or wrong, seemingly, and that's outside of your hands. So that does remove some of the interpretation. Otherwise, I considered the idea that, like, because this game's all text and almost never voice acted, you can literally slot in words that people say to be other words that you've interpreted from the text. Not just in terms of her responding to your interpretation in the moment, but like in the larger sense, you could be stringing together your translation so far, and that's what they that could be the stuff that they say. But that would be very difficult because it's entirely possible that your translations might be nonsensical, even if they're consistent. So it might be a struggle to have the characters say coherent sentences if you slot in words that are just wrong, that your character's nonetheless confident about. Like, you're confident about them because you've used them for that translation several times now, and it could be the basis of your entire understanding of the game so far. And that kind of massive misinterpretation would be interesting because it's very accurate to how historical stuff can go. There is no magic authority that tells you whether or not your interpretations were correct when all of the authors are dead. And considering that we're mostly alone and have very little help from anyone who actually has more authority on the stuff than we do, it's entirely possible that stuff could happen. It would be interesting to have more interactions with people like on Mercy, where you had somebody who knew what a thing meant, and it was like, yes, a child knows that, and could sit there and correct your interpretation. In that case, it would have been especially interesting if your original interpretation made sense but was wildly wrong. Then somebody from within the culture corrects you, and it flips your understanding of that entire planet and its culture and what's going on there on its head. That'd be super cool. But you could literally have the grammar wrong and make completely incoherent sentences, so she would start saying noise at some point if she had to, like, use the grammar hooks, use the Mad Libs words that you've plugged in so far, to form sentences later in the game. Eventually, that would probably break down if they let you keep going and let you actually influence the story on that level beyond the choices you make. So while that idea is really cool, I don't know how you even I don't even know how you achieve it beyond like that. For example, might sincerely be. That's the kind of thing that might sincerely be a use case for like AI. If we set the ethics discussion aside, just like the idea of like the game would have to be able to improvise your fucked up interpretation and try to have the characters react to that interpretation in a way that sounds like they understand what the interpretation is and have some level of belief in it, despite it being misguided, when there's like so many hundreds of combinations of mistakes you could have made that no human writer could reasonably account for all of them and actually have the game respond to them. Like, you need some level of, like, the game itself has to somehow be able to generate responses, which means the game itself has to understand these words and their interpretations on its own, which is quickly becomes an idea that's beyond like reasonable technology for an indie game in general, and the scope gets wild there. A ruin. It's not much of a ruin, but still something. I do not think the statues carved themselves, Aliya. I do not fancy the drop. I'll stay here. The sun goddess. Hello. It was a little funny saying hello and then having the first part of it look like the word hello a little bit right here. We don't have any hash marks. Same word repeating twice? No. I think the second part's a different version of it. Okay, so this crook doesn't appear a single time. And that, like, I don't know, apricot or whatever doesn't show up a single time. Those are useless to me. The beams never show up again, so all I can do is put hide down twice, even though it looks like it might be breaking this word over here. Aliya Elasra, I do not think you have enough information to read this. Sun, high, high. The concept of a sun is this old, then? What do you mean the concept of a sun? Wait, do you guys not have suns? Oh. Oh, surely it's just straight above me, right? The sun god, the sky god. That's the top. Not far now. The concept of a sun. Did I read that right? There's an inscription here. Help! It's fucked up. I guess we'll move you over here because it looks like this. It's there. I'm scared. God. It just keeps scrolling. I didn't even press a scroll button. It just went on its own. Why is it going over there? Go back. I think it freaked out. Hello. Right, we might be here for a while. Buckle your britches. Grab some popcorn. I don't know how those statements were related. Hey. I live in fear of what I've created. Both lists are so long that I need like a different interface for parsing what I'm looking at. Is there a little person anywhere? The little legs at the top of the body? there, but not really. To start with them. No. My only instance of the moon. The infinity. I don't think I have any hash marks. This one. But it doesn't match either of the examples there. I think I need to put some ofs in to satisfy what's left. This is definitely not going to be right the first time, because how would it be? It just... help. It is a process just to look for what I might be missing somewhere. Oh god. Do I have any eyes? There's the one by the beams. More beams. Just longer. I guess this is the longer... Oh god. Oh, it's scrolling. No, I didn't... Nah, I can't tell... I can't... Okay, this interface sucks. Look at it go. Fuck. No. Ah! How can a sun be... Pilgrim again, stars through dark, son of work. How can a sun be dark? I thought a sun was made of fire. How does one fly through a sun? Unless the eye is like a hopper eye. Can't make out any of it. Man, this game needed more testing. You can't just hit me with a string this big and have this interface be this untested. Like, it freaks out. It just loses its shit period. Look at it go! Stop scrolling. Stop. There. It just starts scrolling on its own sometimes. Just to go down this giant string of terms. Start the whole thing over. I don't think it's doable, but I definitely was... Shit. It's so hard to find your place. You can't fit either of them on the screen. It's just frustrating because I was definitely currently holding a thing that was going to fit, but I had to take something off and put something else up. I think it was this. I think it was heavens. I think I had a smaller word here at first, stars, but heavens fits. Except comes fits here. Comes and stars. No, stop freaking out. I don't have any hash marks. I have this hash marks. Again, comes. Stars. It's so lacking in like any kind of like thing you could call alphabetical order. So I just don't know which direction to check in each time when I'm trying to find out where something might be. The game still struggles a bit with the way that it interacts with you trying to remove something and then put something else on. You can't just drag something up there and overlap something and replace it. But you also can't easily pick something up then take it off. Like you have to drag it away to get rid of it. Because if you try to press B, if you try to pick something up then press B, it doesn't like get rid of it. I think I already discovered I don't have any little men. I'm really frustrated because she's not going to react to this no matter what I do, I don't think. Like, I missed it, essentially. And it seems like a pretty climactic, like, big phrase to try to translate. Doesn't mention any of the hash marks. Definitely something was wrong. There's definitely something wrong there. I just don't know what else I can do. At this point, I don't know if the game will give me feedback anymore. Can I trigger something? Even with my wrong answer? Help. Mountains. I don't have any hash marks, so most of the ending I can just count out. I put in an S that has either an apostrophe or a moon by it. Here's an S. Here's an S. There's the S. Yes. No, so now the S's match, and I don't have any... This moon doesn't match, this moon doesn't match. I'm calling them moons now, I guess. I guess, yeah. Will open pilgrims blah, 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 again, and comes, stars us through the eyes from above, son of blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's not finishable. It's part of why I was hoping to successfully 100% the existing, I did want to kind of 100% the existing dictionary. It's just the processes available for trying to do it are brutal. And I feel like the stuff might only be doable if you did that. So I think you both have to keep revisiting Iox and then leaving over and over again to keep comparing your stuff to his stuff over and over and over and over again. Despite that the transitions themselves taking several minutes per go. Like you checking 2 relics seems to take 15 minutes. But then I think you have to also scour all the fog of war of the entire rivers, looking for any random ruins. Maybe. I'm not totally sure. As we got later in the playthrough, more and more of the ruins kept saying, "There's nothing here." So maybe those just dry up. But there might have been more. There might have been dozens more, and that might have taken an absolute monstrous amount of time, to the point where this might start to... For players, this game might start to play more like an MMO, and less like the game that you started off and signed up for, and that you kind of just start like... People that max it out, if I'm reading this correctly, might be people that like just kind of start using it as background busy work, as they also are like multitasking with a podcast or some other thing, and kind of just hanging out and kind of absent-mindedly collecting stuff on a map. The scale and scope of some of the stuff got like really rough to manage. Look at that. Hard to imagine this place busy, full of life, and yet this is where the nebula began. There is not anything left.